Once upon a time, there was a guy, an engineer, who was in his final year of university. He was about to graduate, and he had to do this final year because that's when you get rewarded for all your years of suffering and hard work and courage and persistence, But also at the same time, he had a successful business going on. He was making millions of dollars off this subscription-based business model that allowed hedge fund companies and businesses to cut down on their overall costs, and he was making millions off of this. But at the same time, he had a fiance, and he didn't have time. He never had time, because if he wasn't working on this company he had, this business he had to be in class. So he had very little time for his fiance, and she wanted him to come meet the family, do fiance stuff with her and all of that good stuff. And he asked one of his friends, he asked the guy, he asked another successful businessman that came to campus one day to give them a lecture. He asked them the question, what do I choose? Because his fiance asked him the most difficult question you can ask a man. You have to choose between me or the business. That's what his fiance asked him. And he asked this successful businessman that came to the campus, what should I choose? Which would you choose? Which would you sacrifice? And the businessman looked at him and said, which is more irreplaceable? Which is more impossible to repeat or have again or do again? And this may sound harsh. This may sound like, I'm sure some of you are saying, choose love. You can find love again and all that good stuff. But the moral of the story here, the moral I got from this story I listened to, was whoever is meant to be in your life will be in your life. No matter how busy you are, no matter how many things you're juggling at the same time, they will seamlessly blend in, or they won't have any problems with whatever you're doing, whenever you're doing, however you're doing. As long as you're doing something towards your goals, towards your vision, something that brings you joy, they will never put you in that position where you have to choose between them or your dreams or your hopes or your ambitions. The right friend, the right partner, the right family will never have to make you feel like you have to choose between them or your dreams or your life or whatever you're doing. It's never going to be a choice. They're going to seamlessly blend in with whatever you've chosen to do, whatever decision you've chosen to make. It's not going to be a sacrifice if it's the right person. But if you have to make that sacrifice, which would you choose? Your successful business, your successful career, or your fiance, or maybe your friend, or maybe your family member? It's a very hard decision that most people, I think all of us actually make this decision subconsciously, maybe not directly as this, but indirectly by your actions. You choose either to chill or to go to work, either to visit family or to, go for a business meeting, either to stay home and cuddle or stay up all night and work on this thing you're working on. Most of the time, we need to make these decisions, and it's always on the go, and it's never as clear and direct as the story I just told you. But how much comfort are you willing to sacrifice for your future self? That's what I want to talk about with you today. It's currently Saturday, December 3rd, 9:53 p.m. I hope I finish this episode so I can go watch the Argentina match versus Australia. I want Argentina to qualify. And I actually shot this episode yesterday, but I didn't like it, so I deleted the whole thing. And this is another take, and I'm liking the flow of this already. Anyways, welcome to the Get Exposed show. I'm your host, Odia, and this is episode 6. If you haven't caught up on all the episodes, go check Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to catch up. Episode 1 and 3 is my life story. If you want to know every single thing about me and who I am and why I'm doing this, you can find it there. Anyways, let's get right into today's topic. How much comfort are you willing to sacrifice for your future self? I've already started talking about sacrificing, your relationships with your friends, family, loved ones, all these other things. And I feel that anyone that is supposed to be in your life, anyone that is really meant to be in your life, it will never come to that. It will never be a sacrifice. You won't even have to think of it like that. And I like this topic because I am currently in the process of sacrificing my comfort now for who I want to be in a year from now, in 2 years from now. So I haven't gotten the result yet, which is scary. That's the scariest part of doing anything, when you can't see the results. And that's what you're kind of sacrificing, because if you don't try, you never have to, if you don't try something, you're never going to fail at it. So why try? But if you try, there's a possibility you fail, and that's what people are scared of. They don't want to fail, or they don't even know what they're scared of, but it's just that fear of uncertainty that is not guaranteed. Anything that is not guaranteed people are scared of. Most people are scared of. Like if they tell you 100%, no matter what you do, if you open this door, you get $1 million. And then if they tell you 50-50, if you open this other door, you get $50 million. I bet you 80 to 90% of people will open the first door and get the $1 million and just go home with that. And I don't blame them, It can be circumstance. It can be, that's just the way they are. It's not a bad way of thoughts. It's just, there's people like that and there's people like that who take the 50-50 chance in life and get, the bigger cake, the 50 million. And it might not be a monetary value kind of thing. It can be something else, It can be relationships. It can be personal self-development. It can be so many things, sacrificing pleasures so you can work on a certain aspect of your character as a human being, as a man, as a woman, as anything. You feel me? So how much comfort are you willing to sacrifice? I'm going to talk to you based on my perspective now because like I said, I'm in that process of sacrificing my comfort now just so I can achieve my dream. What is my dream? What is my hopes? What do I want? I want this podcast to form a family, of community of at least 10,000 people by this time next year. By December next year, I want to say, okay, I have 10,000 people that I am constantly providing value for, that I'm constantly helping them in some way make their lives better and understand themselves and see themselves. That's my goal of this podcast. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's easier said than done. I've given up so many things I was accustomed to doing. I'm a party person. I love partying. I love having fun with my friends and all of that, and clubbing and dinners and birthdays and events and all this cool stuff. But I made a decision a few years ago. I actually knew there'll come a point where I have to stop doing all of this if I want to, achieve my goals. And that's just for the podcast. I'll tell you in a second what my big vision is for my life, not just this podcast, but this podcast and whatever the other things I'm doing now and juggling around is going to get me to that big goal. So I knew that they'll come to a point where I need to stop doing what I'm doing and replace it with doing things that will get me to these goals and visions and how I want myself to be in the future. I want me 2 years from now, 1 year from now, to look back and tell this current me, thank you, Osei, for letting go of these comfortable situations for the time being, just so we can be where we wanted to be. Like, thank you, appreciate it. Hope you can see that it paid off. Hope you can see that everything you wanted came to pass, that it was possible, that anything is possible as long as you're willing to sacrifice current and temporal comfort / pleasure / fun. Replace it with anything you're doing too much of right now. That's what I want. I want to be proud of what I did now, and that means I have to instead of only sacrificing all these pleasures and comforts, I need to actually work hard and work smart. And it's not easy because you can work hard for a year and you're working on rubbish. And nothing comes out of it, honestly, it just complete garbage. And that's also because you didn't analyze and you didn't optimize what you were doing to make it better and better day by day. Like I said, success is when you're doing better than you were doing yesterday. And some people are doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That does not happen. You need to change your approach or just tweak a little things or optimize some certain things for your time to be worth it, for that time you sacrifice to be worth it. Because now I literally don't go anywhere. The only reasons I go out now is either for work, as per I have a photo shoot or something work related, or I'm going with my really, really close friends. And when I'm going with my close friends, I'm going to work. But they're just there, you feel me? Like I go to my boy Erin's house and I'm watching the World Cup, but I'm on my laptop editing the podcast or editing the magazine or, making the next post for my Instagram or emailing someone or something like that. You feel me? Because I can honestly be myself and do whatever around this kind of people. There's no pressure to be cool or anything like that. I can just literally work there and we're still chilling, we're still laughing, and I'm still having fun. That's another thing you need to understand. When you choose to sacrifice all these things, all these temporal comforts, all this temporal fun you're having, all this clubbing, all this partying, all this gaming, all this scrolling on Instagram, that doesn't mean your life will be boring, people that are workaholics, their life are not boring if they have the right people around them. And I'm very lucky, that I have this kind of people who I can actually be a workaholic around, or just really be 100% focused without, it bothering them or it annoying them or it making me look weird. You feel me? You need this kind of people in your life. That's what I talked about last episode, friendships, how to find close and best friends, how to find and keep them, because they're really important, because when you're in this locked up state where you sacrifice all your pleasures and all your comfort because you're working on something for the time being, it might drive you crazy if you're alone. You need people around you still. You still need to be able to go out a few hours and, have the best times and come back home and you're right back into it. You can't just be working, sleep, work. You're gonna black out. You're gonna get fried. But yeah, like I said, I'll tell you my life's vision, because it's a podcast. It's between me and you. This is why I started this, to share my own personal stories, not just give you ideas and stuff like that. It all has to be connected.